Hey, welcome back to Cho's Reading Circle. It's been a while because I got a bit sick since last chapter, but we're back. Chapter 4. If you just watched the last episode, then there should be no gap in the schedule at all, as far as I'm concerned. So, Chapter 4. They brought me around with hastily sprinkled font water. I had never fainted before in my life, and I felt stupid, embarrassed, and slightly sick. Their faces swam above me like great moons in the light from the miller's lantern. For a moment I could remember nothing, and then it came back to me like a knife thrust. My mamma was dead, my father a thief, and I had no name. In a way, that last was the worst. Without an identity, I was a blank piece of vellum, a discarded feather, the emptiness that is a hole in the ground. I felt that if I let go, I should float up into the sky like smoke and dissolve as easily. I was deathly frightened. Then somebody had a good idea. "You must have been baptized." Of course, else I would not have been allowed to attend Mass. They helped me to my feet, and we all repaired to the vestry, where by the light of the lantern and the priest's candle, the fusty, dusty, mildewy parish records were dragged out of a chest. "How old are you?" But I couldn't be exact about that either, till the miller suggested the year of the great fever, and then there was much counting backwards on fingers and thumbs, and at last the entry was found in the old priest's fumbling, scratchy hand. "Here we are. Strange name to call anyone," said the present priest. Only the clerk, he, and I could read, and I bent forward to follow his finger. There it was, between the death of one John Tyler and the marriage of Watwood and Megan Baker. The cramped letters danced in front of my eyes, but at last I spelled it out. No date, but the previous entry was June, the latter July. "Baptism of daughter to the traveling woman, one summer day." Summer day. I tried it on my tongue. Summer day. And Mama had called herself one of the travelers. All right, she had given me a really weird name. But at least I now officially existed. And according to the records, I was 17 years old and knew something more about Mama's origins. All at once, I felt 100 times better and was able to invite them all back for the funeral meets almost as graciously as she would have done. It did not take them long to demolish everything. I closed the shutters, made up the fire, and lighted the candles around Mama. They threw out our shadows like grotesques on the whitewashed walls and made it look as though Mama sighed, smiled, and twitched in a natural sleep. The mayor accepted the dregs of the wine jug, drained them, and brushed the crumbs from his front. Clearing his throat, he addressed us all. "I now declare the special meeting open." What meeting? "Having determined to settle this little matter as soon as may be, I think it is now time for us to agree on our previously discussed course of action." My, they had certainly been busy amongst themselves, either on the way here or in the churchyard, but what little matter? "Firstly, Summerhill, or whatever your name is, I should like to thank you on behalf of all the refreshments." Everyone murmured their approval. "We've already agreed to attend the burial of the lady, your mother, and to defray all costs." He cleared his throat again. "Now we come to the distribution of the assets." "My hens," said the butcher. "My goat," said the tailor. "My bees," said the clerk. "The closed chest, the hangings." Suddenly they were all shouting against each other, pointing at our belongings, even gesturing towards the padded quilt on which Mama lay and touching the gown she wore. I was horrified. But as they quieted down, it became obvious that everything I thought we had owned, Mama and I, belonged in some way or other to her clients. They were just loans. If I ever had thought about it at all, which I hadn't, I should have guessed that the finely carved bed, the elaborate hangings, some of the fine clothes, could not have been gifts like the flour, meat, and pulses. Now the butcher was on his feet. He was the man I had always liked least of Mama's clients. Not only because sometimes he tried to put his hands down my front. "Comrades, quiet. I know what we all have at stake here, but we cannot leave the new whore entirely without." Surely they couldn't mean that. But the mayor took over with an uneasy glance in my direction. "Normally, of course, we could have left all this for a day or two until everything settled down," he said. "But under the circumstances, with her losing her job and all," said the butcher. "We shall have to make a quick decision," continued the mayor. My heart gave a sudden lurch of thankfulness. They hadn't been thinking of me as a replacement at all. But the mayor's next word hurt. "Normally, we might have offered young Summer Solstice here the job as her mother's daughter. But under the circumstances, I don't believe she would attract the same sort of custom." "Oh, come on," said the miller, always ready with a kind word. "She's not that bad. A nice smile, all her teeth, small hands and feet, a fine head of hair." Even he couldn't think of anything else. "Mama wished me to become a wife, not a whore," I said stiffly. Whores were special, but wives came in all shapes and sizes, so I had a better chance of the latter, especially with my learning and my dowry. Come to that, where was it? Mama had never said. And when I had found the coins, how did I set about finding this elusive husband that I had been promised? With winter coming on, it would be better to leave it till New Year. If what they said about the furniture going to the next whore was true, the cottage would seem very bare. I had a few coins left of Mama's, and perhaps if they let me keep a couple of the hens, and I could persuade the carpenter to knock me up a truckle bed, I could manage with what was laid aside. But I should have to buy some salted pork. So, if it is convenient, shall we say noon tomorrow, Miss Mayor? Though your brothers are not here now, they will attend the interment in the morning, and your eldest brother, let it be known, his wife would not be averse to the dresses. I had lost something in his speechifying, but that pinched-nosed sister of mine was not going to wear my mother's dresses, and I told him so. Why not? They're of no use to you. Your mom was tall and thin. I still would like to see another in her dresses. Nonsense, why waste them? The new whore will fit into them nicely, too. No point in wasting them. No, I said. And she's getting everything else, said the butcher, including this cottage, so why not chuck the dresses in as well? They're not yours to dispose of anyway. This place? But it's ours. Mine, surely. The mayor shook his head. Goes with the job. So as I said a moment or two back, I can expect you out by midday tomorrow? I can't. I've got nowhere to go. This just couldn't be happening. All in one day, to lose my mother, the shreds of my father's reputation, and also find I possessed a stupid name. Then to be turned out into an unknown world with nothing to my name and nowhere to go, I burst into tears. Angry, snuffly, hurt, uncontrollable, ugly tears. Now, Mama had always taught me that tears were a woman's finest weapon. She had also tried to teach me how to weep gently and affectingly, without reddening my eyes or screwing up the face. But all my tears produced were embarrassment. Red faces and a rush for the door, just as if I had been found with plague spots. Back at dawn, called the mayor. We'll bring a hurdle for the body. The priest was the last to leave. Not even one coin for the masses? I shook my head. I heard their footsteps retreating, then one set returning. The miller poked his head around the door. Just wanted to say, I'll miss your ma. She was a lady. Sorry I couldn't take you in like your brother, but my wife wouldn't stand for it. He turned to go and then stopped. Thought you might like to know. Years after your father died, someone else confessed to planting those stolen goods. Said he was jealous. Dead and gone now. Hey, no more tears. Could never abide to see a lass cry. Here, there's a couple of coins for your journey. And don't worry, you'll do fine. I will see that the grave is kept nice. He sidled out the door. Sorry I can't do more, but you know how it is. Yeah, I said, I know how it is. Alone, I sank to my knees beside the dying fire, my mind a muddle. Shock and grief had filled my mind to such an extent I was incapable of thinking clearly. All I wanted was for Mama to be back to tell me what to do, for I felt an itching between my shoulder blades that told me I had forgotten something and could not rest till it was seen to. A log crashed on the hearth, and I started up. Mustn't let the fire die tonight. Of all nights. But why? Of course, tonight was All Hallows' Eve, the night of Samhain. Tonight was the night when the unshriven dead rode the skies with the witches and warlocks and the court of fairy roamed the earth. Tonight was the night that every year Mama and I closed and locked the shutters and doors early, stoked up the fire and roasted chestnuts, and melted cheese over toasted bread, thumbing our noses at those spirits who moaned and cursed outside, wanting to take our places and live again. But it was the fire that kept them away, so Mama said. Then the songs we sang. There is a time for everything, or after winter cometh spring, and cursed be all who ride abroad this night. I rushed aside and brought in all the wood I could gather. Why bother to save any for the new whore? Let her seek her own. And she had no daughter to fetch and carry as Mama had done. They would soon be sick of her. I even emptied the lean-to of our emergency supply, running back and forth under an easy moon till the room was overflowing with faggots and logs. Tonight we would have the biggest blaze ever, Mama and I. By the time I was finished, I was quite light-headed, even addressing the still figure on the bed. There you are, Mama. Enough to set the chimney alight. And everything else, came a voice in my head. Everything must go with me. Nothing left. Was that what she wanted? Everything burned? But wasn't that what her people, the travelers, did? Hadn't she told me once that when a chief died, his van was piled with his belongings, his dogs and his horses were sacrificed and all consumed in a great pyre? Then if that was what she wanted, that was what she would have. I approached the bed again. You shall have a bonfire fit for a queen, I told the silent figure. They shall not have your bed, your dresses, your chair. I promise. Open. Fly. I frowned. What did that little voice mean? Fly. What was to fly? There was a moth doing a crazy dance around one of the guttering candles, and I moved my hand to bat it away, upon which it swerved over my head and made for the shuttered window, beating frantically against the wood. Then I understood. Sorry, Mama. Ceremoniously, I flung back the shutters into the night, then wedged open the door. Coming back to the bed, I blew out the candles one by one, then knelt to pray. I prayed for a safe journey for my mother's soul, reminding God that all of her sins were now absolved. Then I leaned over for the last time and kissed her brow. All right, Mama. Go with God. As I did so, it seemed a little breeze stirred the hangings, and I distinctly felt a rap on my head, the sort Mama used to make with her knuckles when I completed a task after a reminder. A moment later, the door crashed shut. She had gone. I refastened the door and the window and then bethought myself of my own arrangements. If I were to be away from here before they discovered what I had done, then I must pack up all I needed for my journey quickly. Clothes, food, utensils, blanket, money. Money! Where had Mama put my dowry? Frantically I searched all the places it could be and came up. Came up with nothing. It must be somewhere. Mom wouldn't have made it up. I wished it was light again, for the cottage was full of shadows and every corner looked like a potential hiding place. I must find it. I must. I couldn't face the wide world with the few coins left in Mama's box and the couple that Miller had left me. Opening Mama's box, however, I discovered her bracelets, necklace, and brooches, and the horn ring my father had left behind. I took them over to the bed, fashioned the brooch and the necklace, and then tried to force the ring onto her fingers, one after the other, but it wouldn't go, because her fingers were too fat. Strange, she had long, slim fingers. I put on the bracelets, deciding I would take the ring with me, wearing it on a string around my neck. It might bring me luck, I thought, and without thinking slipped it into the middle finger of my right hand, while I bent forward to adjust the bracelets on Mama's wrist to the best advantage. As I placed her hands once more crossed upon her breast, I noticed something strange. Although I was certain I had washed her thoroughly, there was what looked to be sooty residue caught under the fingernails of her right hand. All at once, I knew where the dowry would be. Rushing over to the fireplace, I felt high up in the chimney, first to one side, then the other. At first, all I got were scorched fingers and full of soot. Then, at last, on my left-hand side, my scrabblings found a ledge, and on that ledge, a bag of sorts, which I snatched out to drop the floor with a clink and a chink of coin. I fell to my knees on the hearth, and gazed with excitement at the pile of coins that burst from the split leather pouch that had contained them. I had never seen so much money in all my life, and all the coins looked like either silver or gold, all in all a fortune. Hastily wiping my sooty fingers, I began to examine them one by one. All but two were strange to me. The inscriptions and symbols utterly alien. A scrap of singed paper fluttered to the floor. It was so brittle with age and heat that it crumbled to pieces in my fingers even as I read it. Thomas Fletcher, mercenary, his monies. There followed a list I could not follow then. 80 coins in all. A-Y-T-I. Coins is spelled with a Y. So my father had been named, and could write, kind of. That surely was where I got my learning skills. But 80 coins? There were less than half, surely, for even with the confirmation of my tallying sticks, there were 47 missing. I glanced over to the bed where my mother lay in all of her finery, extra dresses and shifts spread around her, and my eyes filled with tears, remembering that silver coins and a couple of gold had purchased them. At that time I had wondered where they had come from, and now I knew. But how was I to know that my father hadn't wished it so? After all, she had been his beloved, and I shouldn't begrudge a single coin. Before me lay enough still for a fair dowry, even if the coins would have been weighed for their metal content only, as they were very foreign. But there were still a couple of our own coinage. I could manage for a while on those. Before my eyes, the piece of paper crumbled into ash, the pouch also, as if they had just been waiting for me to find them and were now dead like my mother. Carefully, I packed the coins inside my waistband purse, determined as soon as possible to make them a separate hiding place. As I tucked them away, I noticed for the first time the ring upon my finger. I couldn't remember putting it there. And absentmindedly, I tried to pull it off to tie around my neck, as I had originally intended, but it wouldn't come off. There it was, settled snug on my finger, as if it was part of the very skin. Suddenly it tingled all over, and everything became brighter and sharper, as if a veil had been pulled away. As if a stranger, I saw all the cracks in the wall, the shabbiness of the room. I heard the crack of the fire, the creak of the furniture, as if it was talking to me. For the first time, I smelled the sweetish, sickly odor of decay coming from the bed so strongly that I had to pinch my nostrils and swallow hard. There was a taste of soot and ashes in my mouth where I had licked my fingers, and the hearth beneath my hands was rough with grit and dust. But there was something else as well. Not exactly hope, that was too strong a word, but a sort of energy I had not known I possessed. Something enforced the knowledge that I was alone for the first time in my life, but that I would manage, somehow or other, that I wasn't a complete idiot, and that life held more than I had expected. I rose to my feet. There were things to be done, and as my inside time clock told me it was near midnight, the sooner the better. Outside, when I went to check that the goat and chickens would be safe, the moon was riding clear of the cloud, the stars were brightening, the Christmas to the air confirmed frost. I loaded up the sledge I used for wood with what I thought was necessary, did a last check, then piled wood around the bed, sprinkling it with oil the better to burn. I opened the shutters for a draft. It was spelled weird. And left the door open. That done, I made a last check, then gazed around the cottage that had been my home, expecting nostalgia. Nothing. Nothing at all. It was just a place that two people had lived in, an empty shell with now no personality left. A room, nothing more, as empty of life as the still figure on the bed, the living in memory sleeping from it as surely as the body became cold in death. No, there was nothing here for me now. Goodbye, Mama, I said, and I threw a lighted brand from the fire towards the bed.